So it is an honor to speak with you today. Thank you, Rob, for the introduction, Gar, for having me out. I'm really excited to speak with Rotarians. I've spoken to a couple of different Rotary groups around the cities, and I love speaking to Rotarians because you guys get it. You are in the trenches of business, of economy, of community service, and you have, in essence, just by being part of Rotary, you have captured what it means to have a purpose-filled life. You live it out, because the three model of health in terms of your own personal development is learn, grow, give. Okay? A healthy person is always learning, always growing, and always giving. If you learn and grow but don't give, you're a constipated person, right? I mean, think of your body. This is disgusting in the morning. Why am I talking about this? Think of your body. If you ate... this is going bad, but I'm going to go with it. As you're eating your breakfast, it comes in, your body processes it. If it doesn't go out, you're not healthy. You don't feel good. You get toxins built up, right? That's like your life. Your life is learning, growing, giving. Okay, and that's why I enjoy Rotarians, because that's what you do. You realize that in many different ways, life is not necessarily life isn't about you. You love to be involved, and I really like the emphasis of the Daybreak group with the youth. Because, boy, especially in Hudson, as we in our ministry and our organization work with youth, we see it's different. If you're 30 years old or older, our youth are going through things at a faster rate than we ever experienced. So I'm really, really excited about this. And I'm very cognizant of the fact that because you give, not only just during your day, but also then you're giving out through Rotary. This morning what I want to do is give you just a little bit of encouragement. I want to give you a couple of principles that will help you regenerate, if you will, or renew what you are giving back. Okay? Mainly in the area of, as you look at our world, as you look at the business that you're in, how fast things are changing, right? How many of you know that the world is changing at a faster and faster rate almost every other day? Raise your hand. Yeah, we do, right? How many of you feel the chaos of that? Raise your hand. How many of you are in that chaos right now? Raise your hand. How many of you wish that I would say something that would take all that away? I can't guarantee that. And in fact, you don't want that, because it's the chaos, it's the stress, it's the struggle that helps you develop and push and get better and better at not only what you do, but who you are. So, we are going to be talking a little bit about that. Stephen Covey said this: employers and business leaders need people who can think for themselves, who can take initiative, and who can be the solution to the problem. And if we as human beings, if we as business owners and community group leaders, if we are inundated and don't have a way to manage the stress, the pressure, the things that come down on us on a daily level, if we're not able to manage that, we are not going to be able to be part of the solution. We bog down the system, in essence. So we're going to talk a little bit about that in a little bit. As I said before, our world is changing. I mean, think about advanced technologies. It was only a couple of years ago that social media wasn't even on the lips of anybody. Only a couple of years ago, globalization of enterprise. We never heard of those things. Now, business and communication isn't just fast, it's instant, right? Skype is only about a 6-year-old company. Facebook is only 10 years old. Back in 2004, I went to a conference, and one of the speakers was a guy who wrote a book called The Millennium Matrix. Anybody ever heard of that book, Millennium Matrix? In the book, or actually in the presentation, he was talking about back then. If you were sitting at a desk and working on a computer in 2004, you had a computer monitor that looked 9 months pregnant. Right? That this big thing sticking out, right? That's what our world was, and all of our files, all of our data, everything about your computer and your work, your file, was in this little box that sat underneath your desk getting really, really hot. Back in 2004, he made the prediction. He said, guess what? In 5 years, that little box is going to be gone, and everything is going to be uploaded to this new thing that just came out called the internet. And we all went, what? And it's going to be stored in this thing that they're talking about calling the cloud. Totally new, totally fast. That was only 10 years ago. Now we have iPads, we have phones that do everything in the laundry. I mean, it's crazy the amount of fast change and pace that's happening. Social media, robotics, everything. 3D printers are new, fast. They're actually printing, they're in-use human ear parts, ligaments. I was talking to a buddy of mine who is one of the execs at State Farm, and he was saying that he went to a conference last year, and he couldn't tell me what the 3D printing world is doing from an insurance standpoint, and how they're having to rewrite the books on what they can insure and what falls under that, just because of the advancement in technology. Lots and lots of changes. Even in our own media, we talk about Shirley Temple and YouTube and all of those things. Think about the sitcom, the half-hour sitcom, Three's Company, things like that. In our day, when I was, watching sitcoms, it was a half-hour sitcom with right in the middle was a 5 to 7 minute commercial break. What is it now? It's 7 minutes, 2 to 3 minute commercial break, and then again another one at about 7 minutes later. Which means if you're a presenter, if you are giving business reports, if you're talking to your team, every 7 minutes you've got to change something up in how you present, or else you're going to lose your crowd. So that was about 7. That's okay. So I'm going to dance. Oh, okay, now you're back with me. But that's what medium technology is teaching us. And it's going faster and faster. iPads have changed the way the kids learn. You give an iPad to a 3-year-old now, and they know almost exactly what to do. More so than, my 70-year-old mom and dad. It's crazy, the amount. And it's also personal, right? I mean, look at your kids. How many of you consider yourself taxi drivers now? You put that on your resume because your kids, the demand for your kids' time is getting more and more prevalent. We as parents are being pushed, and we feel this need and obligation to get our kids involved in all these different things. So with all of this said, with all the changes and all the trying to keep up with everything, it gets overwhelming. And then I believe God, or if you believe universe, whatever it is, throws a wrench in the works. Then what do? For me, I grew up I grew up in Arizona, as I said. And my parents were teachers, so they both had 2 and 3 jobs growing up as kids. My dad played banjo at Shakey's Pizza Parlor. Remember that? Yeah, and they used to have live band. My dad and mom and we weren't super rich, and so my dad would be playing, and during their breaks he would look to see if there was any pizza left over after people left, and he would go down and bring home pizza for us kids. We're like, yes, it's the only way we got to eat out. But that's what he did. But I learned from that. And the lesson I learned from that experience, just seeing them, is you've got to do what you love, but you got to do what it takes to do what you love. Okay? You do what you love, but you got to do what it takes to do what you love. It's not just handed to you. So I grew up pretty normally, went to high school, college, met my wife. We have 3 kids, and several years ago, my oldest daughter is a ballerina, Houston Ballet, when we were living in Houston, and very fantastic dancer, beautiful gal, everybody loved her. And one night, her and 3 of her buddies were out taking a photo shoot and for the ballet company, just up against this beautiful sky, they silhouetted against the background on the lake. It was just gorgeous. And as they were getting ready to come home, my daughter called me and said, "Hey, I'm on my way home," and I said, "How'd the pictures turn out?" And she's, "Oh, they're just amazing. The Mackenzie, my daughter, everything is amazing." And so, "Oh, they're just amazing." I was like, "Oh, that's awesome." And she said, "Okay, I'm on my way home. I love you." I was like, "I love you too." Well, they didn't come home. It's about an hour later, and I was thinking, I didn't hear her. When she comes in the door, it's always, "I'm home," she's a tornado that way. So I texted her. I said, you got to work tomorrow. You better get going home. And she didn't text back. I texted her again, and I said, "You better have a good reason for being late." And what had happened was, after she talked to me, 3 minutes later, they were in a car accident, and my Mackenzie was killed instantly. just didn't even know what happened. They had turned into an intersection, and an F-250 came barreling through the intersection, and she was killed instantly. We found her, went to the crash site, and a little later on went to the car, and we got her things, and we got her phone, and she was in the middle of texting when the accident happened. And what she was texting was the word T-O-M-O, which is the word tomorrow, right? So she was right in the middle of texting the word tomorrow. Come to find out, her and her friend Wes were going to go to the beach in Galveston and hang out. So they were thinking about tomorrow. And so what happens then for you is, if you realize there's no guarantee of tomorrow. There's no guarantee of this afternoon. So how do you handle, as a parent, for me, how do you handle that kind of interruption in your life? What happens when life interrupts you when you're on a path and things are going well? How do you prepare for that? Well, I'm going to give you just a couple of tangible things to do, and you're kind of my guinea pigs, because I've never really spoken on these two practices, if you will, publicly. I practice them when I talk to other church leaders, pastors, business people, and coach them in these. And they, for me personally, have really helped just the way I handle life, just the way when stress happens, how to handle stress, and how that can be better for you as you go out into your busy world. Because how many of you know from here, your schedule that you have is not going to look like, you're not going to go through the schedule, like at the end of the day when you look back at your day, you're going to go, wow, that didn't happen. Ooh, that did happen. It's going to change. So how do you handle change in the midst of all that? How do you handle the chaos that happens? One of the things, just jumping back real quick, with Mackenzie, one of the things that my wife and I learned with grief is there's two choices, and we have a very powerful thing, the power of response and the power of choice. How do you handle grief or when situations really fall apart? Well, one way is to just shut down. One way is just not to grieve and say, I need to go on. Because of what happened with Mackenzie, Kelly and I have been able to reach out to other families, even specifically here in Hudson, of other people who have lost high schoolers in tragic situations. And the grief is all the same. I mean, it's just reliving it. How do you handle it? One way is to pull in. 86% of couples break up after the death of a child. 86% of couples. And the reason is because we are trying to survive internally ourselves, and yet we have to relate to other people. And if you have kids, now you have to be still taking care of your other kids. So you never have a time to grieve. I knew that. I mean, being trained in this a little bit before it happened, I understood that. I mean, you have to allow yourself to just cry. I remember one time I was in the produce section of the grocery store, and I come to the bananas, and Mackenzie loved bananas, and this was like 3 weeks after she had passed away, and so I'm looking at these bananas, and the water well I just broke down weeping, and I literally turned around and slumped down in front of the banana case on the floor with the bananas on my forehead, just crying. People are walking by, okay, is it the price? What's, kind of thing. And but you have to allow yourself to grieve and to cry when you can. We were doing another thing, talking about Mackenzie's story. And a lady came up at a book signing, and she came and she was talking to us, and she was just talking about her son who had died of SIDS. And she was just a mess, falling apart. And I'm expecting, this happened like a couple of months ago. It was 11 years, and it had impacted her that much. Come to find out, she stuffed everything, and it just eventually just explodes. So not even just death of a child, but just any loss that you have, even in your business. As I talk to some business folks who have lost half of their company because a client changes or moves or whatever, the sense of that severance is the same, and how you handle that is really the same. You've got to grieve that with your team. You have to tell your team, this stinks. A buddy of mine owns a refinery, and I was working with him, and he ended up, because of, he works in gold and silver, and this was back when the economy was crashing. He had to cut half of his business and fire half of his workforce just to survive. And they spent a 5-day offsite just grieving and figuring out what to do next and that kind of thing. It's very, very important to do that and being sensitive to our time. Okay, so again, you have an incredible power of response, an incredible power of choice on how you respond to things that are happening, how you're responding to things that are coming in at you. Let me give you 2 practices that I've used over the years that have really helped me get through some really tough times, some obviously Mackenzie's death, but just even in career, in move, in stress during my life. The first one is this. First practice is this. It's called practice solitude. Anybody know what solitude is? Solitude is basically pulling away to just get a different perspective in life. When you're on that cruise ship, you're going to have solitude, right? And you're going to be thinking back here and go, oh, now I get it. Now I understand why this happened. Now I can see clearer. How many of you pull away at least once a day just kind of to do some reflection? Okay, that's not good. That's not good. One person raised their hand, yeah, okay, God, that's why he's so cool, is he just, pulled away, yeah. And he can say, Haken, Haken, Hoken, Haken, whatever that was. Yeah. Okay, so if you're taking notes, write this down. You've got to have a practice of diverting daily, withdrawing weekly, moving away monthly, and abandoning annually.
That was fast. Do it again.
I'll send the transcript. Divert daily. Diverting daily means to just pull away from your regular work. Scientists say that after 5.5 hours of consistent work, there's the law of negative returns, where your brain can't work more than 5 hours straight. And how many hours do we work a day in our businesses? 10, 12, whatever it is. So you need to divert daily, pull away. For me, I do a personal study and devotion in the morning, just pray and just kind of get my head right, diverting daily and throughout the day. Second one, it was withdraw weekly. That's taking a day or a couple of days to pull away. I love walking the shops in Stillwater or up in Taylor's Falls, just kind of antiquing, just getting away from my normal situation. So divert daily, withdraw weekly. Move away monthly means get out of town. I mean, just go. Once a month, take a day, even just a half day, to change the surroundings. During those times, be reflecting, be thinking about what you need to get done. The last one is abandon annually, and that's the vacations. That's get away. My practice the last couple of years is I do my own personal vacation for about a week. Then my family joins me wherever we're going for the next couple of weeks. I have to, or else I'm a very grumpy person. Okay, last one before time is up. Ooh, this is going to be quick. Okay, the other one is practicing confidence. Confidence is different from arrogance. Arrogance, when you were a kid in high school, a person who was arrogant was stuck up, right? Is because they would push away and they would push everybody down, pushing themselves up. That's arrogance. Confidence isn't pride, where it's all about me. Confidence is that internal alignment with the external reality. So it's that idea that you are confident. And I need everybody to stand up. I want to give you this little practice. And again, this is new, so if this doesn't work, there you go. Most of us, as our grandmothers and moms tell us, slouch. We have bad posture. Physiology can help you. Look at everybody just started standing up straight. Physiology affects the way you think, the way you behave in what you do, okay? So right now, what I want you to do is, as you're standing, I want you, in your mind and physically, think of slouching. So go ahead and everybody just sort of slouch, okay? Now turn to the person next to you and look at them. Would you do business with that person? No. Typically what happens is not only are you slouching physically, your face slouches, everything about, hi, do you want to buy my product? It just doesn't. So I learned this from my dad, who's a choir director at Arizona State. In order for people to sing right, you have to have good posture. And watch what this does, okay? What I want you to do is take your hands, palms up, If you do palms down, you'll look like a zombie, believe me. So palms up, and raise your palms to a point of where you're just sort of falling back just a little bit, okay? So it should be a little bit higher than shoulder height. Now keep your whole frame poised and bring your hands down. Oh, what a good-looking group. How do you feel? Awkward, right? It's a little awkward. But now turn to the person next to you. Do they look different? Yeah, you look confident. You look confident. Yeah. Okay, have a seat. Thanks for that. Okay, so let me wrap up with this. I've done that in different settings. What my challenge is, and now Rob, when you see me on Sunday morning, because I typically have, I'm over a computer, so I have bad posture. So I'm constantly, and I shouldn't tell you this because you're going to see this on Sunday. When I speak in front of our congregation, when I find myself stressed or really thinking about what I do, my shoulders tend to hunch up, and I become. Jesus loves you. So what I do, and I challenge you, this is your homework if I have that for you, is what I do is, and I'm making a point, I consciously, even write it in my notes, I consciously go like this. What do you think about that? Yeah, so it's a constant thing. And I'll guarantee you that if you practice that today, don't do this, because again, it's like, but if you practice just that lifting up and lifting up your frame, you will not only look more confident, people will notice that, you will feel more confident, and the feeling of confidence translates into the feeling of calm and peace. It does, trust me, believe me on that. So your assignment, as I see you out in Hudson community today, if you're walking around like this, then I know you're at the Rotary meeting. But that's the assignment. I want to say thank you. I know we're at 8:15 right now. I want to say thank you for having me. I love speaking to groups and teams and businesses. So if there's any way that I can help, just go to my website, which is toddstalker.com, and you can touch base with me there. Or Al knows me and Rob knows me too. So thank you, everybody. Blessings on what you do. And you're the first person you'll ever lead. Just remember that. All righty.
Todd, I think we have just a minute or two if there are any questions out there. Can anybody think of a question for Todd this morning? It seems like you give these kind of seminars in addition to your work,
Yep.
your pastoral work.
Yeah.
And this is your life coaching.
Yeah. I love what I do at the church. I mean, that's my purpose. I do a lot on purpose in life. I do a lot of the power of confidence, power of visualization in a balanced way. You know, that if you've been to some other seminars, it's kind of like, what? I sort of balance that out. I do a lot of work with team building and also finding how you're hardwired. So that'll keep you from venturing into a career that you just will burn you out in about 3 years. So,
Very good.
Thanks.
Well, thank you very much for being with us. Let's hear it for Todd.